All right, we've got back-to-back winter weather for some of you as our next storm already takes aim. Parts of the plains, also into the east, where we could have a full-fledged nor'easter. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about snow totals today. We're going to talk about the different variables that I think come into play with this, because I think some of you could see rain. Some of you could end up with just, well, more snow. All right. Let's start off with the snow maps here, kind of where we're looking at. Again, from the central U.S. back into Kansas, a couple of inches across this area expected. That will spread into northern Missouri. And then as we head into Tuesday, we are watching the Northeast. And a couple of the models, guys, are looking really impressive with some heavy snow on the table. Let's set the stage to where we are right now, and we'll walk you over through the next couple of days. Surface map showing high pressure settling in, and it's cold high pressure too, almost smack dab across the Mississippi River here, across northern Illinois, sliding towards the Great Lakes, eventually into the Ohio Valley. Now, this cold air is going to be pretty dense. It's going to be stuck down the east side of the mountains. It's also going to wedge down a little bit here into parts of the Tennessee Valley. I am concerned about a little bit of freezing rain as we head into the week, maybe Monday night, possibly as early as Monday midday across parts of Arkansas, into northeast Tennessee and Kentucky. And then into Monday night into Tuesday, we're watching this region here into parts of Virginia, western North Carolina, western Maryland, the Panhandle of West Virginia, maybe even parts of Pennsylvania. The snow starts to spread east, though. We kind of pushed through that pretty quickly, but it's definitely going to start to snow a little bit into Monday afternoon and Monday evening from Kansas City east to St. Louis. This is a relatively light snow, so we're talking about a couple of inches with this system. It's pretty weak, but we're going to start to phase this system as it gets close to the East Coast. A decent jet streak swinging out of the central U.S. This is going to combine with good divergence aloft, that air moving apart. It's spreading out, and that's going to develop surface low pressure right near the coast. At the surface, we've got some cold air again pushing down the east face of the mountain, so some winter weather again possible in this part of the world. And then look at the snow. The chances increasing now, I think today, even more across southern parts of Ohio, maybe even Kentucky, southern Indiana. And now look, you're in the game in Pennsylvania. I'm feeling pretty strong about this today. This is a good run for snow lovers on the European. If you're sick of the snow, it's looking a little snowy here into the northeast. And now we're getting our surface low pressure deepening off the east coast. Again, your winds aloft will be coming in like this, pretty strong, and it's going to help to really get that low cranking. The European is pretty progressive. It wants to move it offshore. I'm looking at the NAM. I get a lot of hate for the NAM sometimes. I'll tell you, when I was forecasting for a living, it's what I did for years. I don't throw the NAM out with the bathwater, okay? I look at it and go, all right, is there something to be learned here or looked at closer? Show you what I mean in just a second, but the European is trying to put some heavy snow here into the northeast as this all wraps up. At the same time, we're watching a pretty strong cold area of high pressure drop down into the prairies of Canada. That's going to push some snow into the northern Rockies. It's going to bring some snow back into the Canadian Rockies too. So cities like Calgary, down into Salt Lake City, into the Intermountain West, we start to see that snow drop south with some colder air too pushing back into the northern plains. And listen, I think we're entering a very cold period across the northern U.S., also southern Canada into the prairies. It's just going to be cold as our polar vortex has really been stretched here into North America. Pushing this out in time, and we're going to detail some of the totals here a little bit closer. We're going to dive in really close in just a second. And by the way, if you're just joining the live stream, you can take it back from the beginning. We may have already talked about a couple of things that maybe you're interested in, but more cold into the northeast as we head into Thursday and Friday. And look at this, guys. Okay, I want to back this up. You've dropped your front to the south, or at least your dividing line between your warm and cold air. And now this is the time of year where you watch these pieces of energy that may come out of the subtropical jet interact with this cold polar Arctic air. And are we looking at the potential for some type of winter storm again heading into next weekend, Friday into Saturday, further south? This makes sense, right? Each storm is becoming further to the south progressively each time. It's not what happens every winter, but it's kind of the pattern that we're seeing. And look at this. So another chance for another winter storm heading into next weekend. I don't think we're done. I think we're just getting started with the winter activity. This is long range, I know. Don't pay attention to the date, but just look at the pattern, guys. It's active. It's going. And we were looking at this, I think, back in October. It started to show that. We started to see that sudden stratospheric warming in November. And I think this is what we're seeing, that cold polar air dropping down into the U.S. No watches out right now, at least no widespread watches. There are a few. You can head to weather.gov, but I anticipate probably another live update tonight as we start to see more watches and advisories get issued. Also tomorrow, new data is going to be coming in, and we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot more clarity. So if that sounds interesting to you, hope you'll subscribe. Hit that notification button and come back and watch, and let's track this weather together. The GFS is on board too with a roaring nor'easter that moves up the coast. Let's talk about the snow totals, which, by the way, I think you're going to get crushed out here into Nova Scotia with this snow. Big snow going also into New England. These here, guys, someone joked. I don't know if they were joking or serious, but the reason the snow cuts off here, this is not a model, okay? This is, here's Maine, right? This is the National Digital Forecast Database. It's a U.S.-based product from the National Weather Service. So that's why we're cutting off here at Maine. I'm not sliding my Canadian friends here, but look at the snow back into Maine. More than 6 inches officially forecast right now. That is impressive looking. Numbers drop off dramatically here into the coastal areas. Now, if you're watching Boston, if you're watching in New York City, I think it's just so close. You know, you may end up with just rain. The official forecast is for mostly a rain event here into Boston, but get back west of town here, up into some of the mountains, the Green and White Mountains, parts of Maine. Some of these areas could see more than a foot of snow. And this is, again, these are touched numbers from the National Digital Forecast Database, or at least they've been, I would say, massaged a little bit. It's not just raw model data here. Back into New York we go. Some heavy snow here. Also into the Poconos. I think you're going to get quite a bit of snow. And then right around into northern New Jersey. So where are we at? Port Jarvis here. You get up here into this part of New York, Pennsylvania. North of this, some decent snow falling here. And once you get south of, say, Poughkeepsie, I think those snow totals go off because you're going to have some pretty decent onshore flow. I'm going to show you that on the NAM model, which is really going to erode the possibility of a lot of snow here. Further to the south and east we're going now. Some of this snow back here I want to show you is lake effect that's falling through the next couple of hours here downwind of Lake Erie, also into Lake Ontario too. But here comes the synoptic snow, that snow that's being driven by the area of low pressure as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. So the snow total's picking up. Talking about a couple of inches north of this line into PA and then into Ohio. So get north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, get up here into central and Ohio. Where are we at? We're up towards Cleveland, up into Erie, PA. More snow on the way on top of the lake effect. And here's the problem that I see too, the freezing rain. That's going to be an issue here as we head into Tuesday morning. Again, up and down the I-81 corridor. You can see the patches of freezing rain along the Blue Ridge, the east-facing slopes especially, and then up here into West Virginia, the eastern mountains, probably some freezing rains. And some of the model guidance is trying to show some freezing rain, and the digital forecast database is showing that too here for the lowlands of West Virginia. Further to the west, more snow back here. I'm going to let this roll because you can see some of this is the lake effect that we're dealing with over the next 24 hours. And then here comes more snow on top of that. So we're talking about a good, I think, 2 to 4 inch snow. Some of these areas, I think there could be a high rip-off zone. Some of the snow tries to get banded, and that could cut down on some of what we end up seeing. But still, forecast is for a couple of inches anyway. That snow extends back into southern Iowa, northern Missouri, even a little bit of snow possible further to the south. The problem I think that you really have to watch for a little bit further to the south is the freezing rain, even as far south as Tennessee, right? So that's a concern. As we get now into the timeline, looks like Monday afternoon, Monday evening, into Tuesday morning. So that could be a problem. Look at this. It goes as far west as Oklahoma. I don't know that we see it into Louisiana, but there's a chance here for some of that cold air to really get, or that precipitation to overrun that cold air at the surface. But yeah, watch out here into Arkansas, right up along the Ohio and Mississippi River for some of that light icing that could potentially take place. And then there's the lighter snow back into Kansas, southern Nebraska, as we look further to the west. Speaking of the west, let's go out here. Here comes that system, that first piece of energy diving through the Rockies right now. We're going to walk back across the country, and we'll time all of this system out for you. And we're going to time out the next system that's moving in to the northern Rockies, which is going to bring quite a bit of widespread snow here, I think, into the mountains. Some of that drops south. I don't know that it's a drought buster for the relatively dry winter we've seen so far across Utah, Colorado, down into Arizona, which, by the way, there's been actually a lot of snow in Arizona, especially north of Flagstaff. There at Arizona Snow Bowl, I think they picked up over 3 feet of snow a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, there's been some snow scattered about, but up into Utah and Colorado, tough going with the snow. But there are more snow chances on the way here. Look at next weekend. This could be pretty significant as we start to engage some Pacific moisture into the Canadian Rockies with another dump of snow. A couple of inches in the mountains. Some of the highest elevations of Colorado could see more than a foot of snow, but then you can see how this really picks up as we head into this week, especially by next weekend as that Pacific moisture gets really active. And some of this could spill east of the mountains, out into the prairies here, into North Dakota. Something to watch. There's a look at your temperatures for Monday. Let's go east. Bit of a different view here. This is the future radar. I think this does a better job on the 3K NAM is what we're looking at with the freezing rain, which we want to pay attention to. There comes the snow starting to break out across Kansas, also into Nebraska, relatively light. There could be a few heavier to moderate bands in here somewhere. Overall, not a huge, big snowstorm, but look how this moisture is starting to return into Arkansas, maybe starting as a little bit of freezing rain from Hot Springs up to Little Rock. East, I think even to Memphis. We have to watch this into West Tennessee. A little bit of icing to start, and your snow continues to push off to the east as we move into Monday night. The snow picking up again from Chicago over to Detroit, Grand Rapids, down to Indianapolis. Looks like more snow this time for you guys across southern Illinois and southern Indiana than what we saw with the last system. And then the rain is quite heavy at times across the south. And then this pushes off to the east, and we're looking at the next system to bring some more light snow off to the northwest. Cold heading into Monday. This is about as warm as it's going to get across many areas, and that cold continues to push towards the Great Lakes. A little bit warmer across Texas maybe, but look at the Arctic chill diving south by Wednesday. Good grief, look at that. That is a really cold pocket of air moving toward Wisconsin and Michigan by the time we get toward the end of the week. A closer look at the Northeast and also into the Mid-Atlantic, the Mid-South, back to the Midwest. Here comes the snow, here comes the rain, and the ice, too. We've talked a little bit about that, but, I think you've got to watch this in Kentucky, too, from London north up to Louisville, go west to, I think even back here to Evansville, I think it's mostly snow, but the potential for some mixed precip is there. And then now east of the mountains and in the central part of the Appalachians. Now, some warm air is going to try to move up on the west side of the Appalachians. It's why you end up with rain kind of circling around this cold air down the east side of the mountains. So from Beckley to Bluefield down to Boone, we'll see some freezing rain here. And then that extends east to Blacksburg, Roanoke, and then northeast of that up towards Harrisonburg, and then up to Stanton, and then up to Winchester. We'll start to eventually see that warm air start to win, okay? And you'll transition over to just plain rain, especially here across southwest Virginia, western North Carolina. But look at the heavy banding of snow showing up on the NAM across northern West Virginia. We're talking about Wheeling, Morgantown, up to Pittsburgh, Bradford, PA, Jamestown, New York, Rochester, Syracuse. All of these regions starting to show up in this heavier band of snow. Harrisburg, PA, up to Scranton, PA. This is where it gets really interesting to see how strong this will get. The NAM is probably the strongest of all of the short-range, or I should say really mid-range models here. The European in the mid-range is kind of weak with this, but boy, this is showing a heavy band of snow developing. One thing I want you to look at, watch these small showers here. This kind of indicates the lower level flow. You can kind of see it, right? It's coming in off the ocean. It's one of the reasons right along the coast. Because of the placement of low pressure, even if we start as snow or a mix, we'll probably end up switching over to just a plain rain. But get north of I-84, I don't know about Connecticut I-84, but once you get north into Massachusetts, western Mass, we end up with all snow, I think, here. Then that extends north up to Albany, to Rutland, northeast of that into pretty much all of New Hampshire, except maybe the coastal areas. And the same could be said here into Maine. I think, the NAM is pretty cold, but if you're going to shift over to rain, it's probably going to be right along the coast. But get inland a little bit, say 40, 50 miles, and there could be some really heavy snow. And the NAM is really trying to dump the big totals here into western Mass in the order of maybe more than a foot of snow. Very interesting to see that unfold. Here's a look at your temperatures Monday. Now we're heading into Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. The cold starts to move in behind this system. Temperatures drop. And then back up into this region across the upper Midwest, we're starting to see a real Arctic push of air. Look at these temperatures. This is not wind chill. These are not wind chill values. These are actual air temperatures. I don't know if it gets that cold, but look at that. We could be waking up maybe 10 below from Minneapolis south into Des Moines, and then that modifies some. The thing about Michigan is that Lake Michigan generally saves you, right? That warm air of right across the lake with that warm water generally modifies this cold, but look how it slips just to the south of Lake Michigan. So I think you're going to have some cold air moving to northern Indiana. That spins east, and then another reinforcing shot of some cold. This is a very chilly weather pattern that's setting up, guys, and I don't know that we see any end to it, at least in the short term. A little bit different look here. Here comes the low that we're watching for this week, the nor'easter. It's going to dump some heavy snow here too into Nova Scotia and really bomb out as it moves away from the northeastern U.S. and put some heavy snow here into Newfoundland too. More snow here into eastern Canada, and I want to show you. Do you notice how everything is circling like this, right? Polar vortex pretty much is set up here, and it's just going to keep bombarding, I think, a lot of North America with some cold air. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit, and we're going to kind of take a look at a different view here. I was checking this out earlier. You can almost see this flow out of the northwest. Arguably, you're starting to get a little bit of cross-polar flow. You're really pulling that cold air down. That is a cold look, guys. And I'm going to flip this over to the upper air chart to the 500 millibar anomalies. Look at this. Trough in the east. Does it stay cold? I think it does. You may get some rebounds from time to time, but in my opinion, December starting cold. Does it rebound around the middle of the month? Some of the longer range models say the southeast ridge starts to grab again and blister everybody. I'm not completely sold on this yet, especially considering that the Madden-Julian oscillation is entering a cold phase. That doesn't make sense to me. Long-range models typically don't make sense to me either. So anyway, throw that one away. We'll cut it out of the video, pretend it never was said, but I don't know. I don't think we warm up across a lot of the country heading into December. Looks like a rough winter for many areas. Now, not everybody, right? The West is kind of starving with some warm temperatures, and really I don't see a lot of change out here. Maybe we start to shift up a little bit by the middle of the month, and that would be when that southeast ridge, if it does, in fact, start to take shape. More to come on that. If you made it this far, maybe you're a weather geek like me. Subscribe. Come back. Thanks to the thousands of new followers, new subscribers here on the channel over the last couple of weeks. It just blows my mind, and I do appreciate your support. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It's free 99, helps the channel, supports what I do here. Thanks for your support. See you guys next time.